But the new T-Bird has lost a lot of weight, and in the turbo's case, half of its cylinders as well. This year's downsized car is powered by a 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine, which might sound a bit anemic for a car of this size, but the turbocharger boosts the engine's output to 145 horsepower, which is plenty to provide the performance-minded driver some fun.
You may be shocked, Ford Thunderbird, four-cylinder, unusual, but I can assure you, small cubic inches doesn't mean bad performance, and this car really does perform well for a small four-cylinder engine. The only thing that's bad about it is there is a lot of engine noise, and a lot of that can be contributed to the emissions that we have to do nowadays, and the certain pumps they put on obviously makes the car noisy, and at the high RPMs range it is quite noisy. The car itself is very impressive in the inside. We should get on to, I guess, complaints right away. It is a 2.3-liter turbo, and we've been in a lot of turbos before in AutoCheck. And the one thing that I really criticize in this car to start with is the lack of gauges. It's a real problem in this car if you want to know exactly what's going on in the car. All we have is what I would call two idiot gauges. A tachometer and a speedometer and a gas gauge. That's all. You don't know what the turbo boost is, you don't know what the oil pressure is, the water temperature, and I really think in a class of car like this, those are a few little things that you would expect. It's a green light that goes on for the turbo. Well, obviously, as you're driving along the highway, there's no way that you want to look down to see whether the boost is on or not. However, it is a very pleasant car. The turbo is very, very smooth. Right through the whole range of first, second, third, fourth gear. And fifth gear is basically an overdrive, which is very pleasant once you get up to the 160-kilometer range. And then when you drop it into fifth gear, it drops the RPM, the revs per minute, down to around about 3,800, which is just fantastic in a 2.3-liter engine.
Building cars is always a matter of compromise. For example, performance versus fuel economy. Ford has attempted to solve the problem by spacing the gears in such a way that the 5-speed transmission addresses both problems.
Fairly close ratio first to second, but a big long lag into third gear. And this happened with us on the Mustang as well. And what happens is if you've got the turbo on in first gear and second gear, in other words, it comes on automatically. But if the turbo is being used and you go first, second, it's a fantastic feeling of power, and you go into third gear and there's such a big gap between second and third that the car tends to drag a little bit and the turbo lags. It's called turbo lag. It lags a little bit and you have to wait a long time for that to come back up. Once it comes back on again, it's excellent. It really comes on strongly, but it's something that if you were just driving down the street going to work or something, I don't think you would notice it, but if you're out trying to have some fun with this car, which obviously it's built for, I think you would criticize it on that point.
Ford has spent a lot of time and energy on the new Bird's aerodynamics. The result is a slippery shape that cuts through the air with a minimum of drag, while at the same time providing downforce on the wheels. The styling of the car is one factor in its improved handling. There are others.
The wheel and tire package in this Thunderbird Turbo is the TRX package, and of all the cars we've tested, this one with this combination on seems to work very well. I've got a funny feeling that this is one of the first cars that Michelin, this style of car is one of the first cars that Michelin did the TRX package for. And in some of them there's a very ugly package, but in this one it fits in really well. And in cornering, no excessive oversteer or understeer, very easy to make the car drive the way that you want it. As you can tell, I'm very impressed with the car. When you're driving along at normal highway speeds, the car handles very nicely indeed. Obviously today, as we do in all auto checks, we put the car through its paces, and on the absolute limit, I would say, the car tends to feel very, very soft. However, if you drive through a corner reasonably fast, the car feels very nice. Nice steering wheel, very nice size of steering wheel. This is very important. The seats, unbelievable. This seat is one of the nicest seats I've sat in all the cars that we've tested in AutoCheck. It has a lumbar support, it has adjustments on the side, and all the adjustments for the seat are right by the driver, right on his right-hand side. And the passenger seat, too, is adjustable with a lumbar seat. It's nice to see a car in not too high a price range with comfortable seats for both driver, passenger front, and passenger rear. The rear seats are adequate. A 6-foot person could fit in without any problem at all.
Tony also found the disc front drum rear brake system and the suspension using gas-filled shock absorbers to his liking. All that, coupled to the T-Bird's price of $18,000, gave him the basis for his rating out of 10.
Out of a possible 10 in this class, I would give this car an 8.4.
Ford's new breed of Thunderbird is a car full of surprises, most of them very pleasant. Our thanks this week go to Ford of Canada for supplying us with the Turbo Coupe, and of course to Tony Morris of Circuit Tire. We'll be back next week with another edition of Auto Check.